Hi and welcome everyone. This is the Hobo Prepper and I am Friar Tug. So this is Open Mic Saturday. I am going to give you guys an opportunity to come in and to ask questions, and I'm just going to talk about kind of what's been going on for the week, some of the stuff that I've been learning, which I've been learning a lot, but kind of putting it into words is semi-difficult in the sense that, you know, try to explain to somebody that you're learning a whole new platform, and then, people that barely use a computer, them trying to understand it, they're not going to understand it very well. But it has been an eventful week. I'm finding out all the different problems that Windows was having, and not only that Windows was having, but just the cross compatibility with trying to be able to load Linux. So one of the things that happened this week is that when we tried to install Linux or when we were installing Linux on my laptop, is that the onboard video driver, so the my NVIDIA GeForce graphics card, it was actually having some issues with it was having issues being able to be installed, because one of the things that I'm learning is that when you go and you buy a laptop or a desktop, and you get it from a manufacturer like HP or Dell or something like that, like one of the big manufacturers, they end up, because of just profit and the way that they get kickbacks from Microsoft and the way that their licensing agreements work with Microsoft, it directly affects them. Oh, it looks like I have somebody in chat. Say hi so that I can see that my chat is working. But just seeing that, the issues that we had, and it's we've been working on it for quite some time. Close to, what is it? We got it on Saturday, so it's been about 7-8 days that we've been working on being able to figure out a way around the system, just so that we can actually get the graphics card installed. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to use Linux. So yesterday, the guy that I keep telling you guys about, I'll just call him Mentor. He was able to figure out a way around the graphics card, or around the installation process for the graphics card, just because they're trying to do things that are keeping it from being okay, good. Keeping it from being installed. And so these are problems that you're going to have. So if you buy a machine and you decide you want to install a different operating system other than what they sent it with, they're locking it down to a point to where either on the device side or just in the core of the hardware, what also known as the BIOS, they're locking it down to a point to where you can't really install other than what they told you can install. Now you go out, you buy this machine, and you should be able to put on or off whatever you want on that machine. You purchased it, you owned it. But due to economics and other things, they are actually preventing that from happening. And it's just the way it is. And so I've been pretty much consumed by that. I really haven't been able to keep up on what's going on in the rest of the world. So if you guys got some information, I'm more than happy to hear. Now this is going to be somewhat of a short live stream, so that we can get back to finishing the setup of my machine, because we had to go and install an older version of Linux to figure out the workaround, so that now that we can install the most up-to-date version of Linux, and then now I can kind of get into really learning the system. And I'm hoping that I was able to at least not really impact or influence, but inform you guys a little bit of your digital privacy, your digital security, and things like that. Because when as time goes along, part of the World Economic Forum and their "you will own nothing and you will be happy." Well, he who owns the system gets to dictate what goes on with it. That means that they can log your, oh hey Bushcraft, the world is a mess. You have your bug out bag ready. If the situation calls for it, I'm ready to go on a moment's notice at any time. One thing I learned from Mr. Wesley when I was on the Alabama Road Walk is all you really need is some string and a knife, and you should be able to figure the rest of it out and make it on your own. So I mean, not that I'm that skilled, but if worst comes to worst, if things get bad for me, I always have the option to move on. That's the great thing about being nomadic, about being willing to migrate, is that I'm not necessarily tied to one specific area, one specific region. In a lot of ways, depending upon certain things that go on, I may even be able to go international, and because I'll go where I need to go, where the opportunities are, go where it is safer, and where it is safer not only to do business but to be able to live, and those places generally have lots of opportunity. Part of what makes a place safe is the economics that goes on. So, that's one thing that I think that you guys as preppers, whether you follow me just because you like my nomadic journey and you like watching me hike, or you are a prepper and you're trying to get prepared for what's going on, there are a lot of different things that play into it. It's not just bugging out. Now, what I did do in the beginning of the channel is, as you guys are seeing through some of my old videos that were being migrated over from Patreon, is that you have different modes of travel. You can drive in a car, you can take a bike, you can get on trail and hike, you can hike the roads, it's different ways in which you have the ability to be able to move and to migrate, and depending upon your situation and your personal economics, and not only that, your personal preferences. If you have a car and you can afford a car, well then, put your stuff in your car. You can carry more, you can have more versatility. But if you don't have the finances to be able to keep a car, but yet you want to do a bike because you want the speed and the agility, but you also have to have the physical stamina, and a lot of this requires pre-preparation before anything really gets to that point. So one of the things that I should have done in a previous point is that I should have ridden a bike for about 2 years before I actually got on the road and started riding, because you need to condition your physical structure. Okay. The other thing is, you also have, if you decide to hike, that takes a completely different physical structure to be able to do, because you're going to be hiking up mountains. You're going to have to learn how to find water, how to find food, and things like that. And so being able to have those different modes of migration, to be able to move along from one place to another, that is important, because if you're tied to just one and you don't have options are what will allow you to make life easier, because economically, if you wanted to, you don't have a car, but yet you got a nice bug out bag. One of the things that you could do is very easily hop on a Greyhound, or hop on a bus, or find somebody that is traveling and migrate with them to different areas that are traveling. I mean, keeping your options open is important. And plus, one of the things that I've learned about economics and learned about recessions, especially in the last year, is that just because they say, oh yes, the country is in an economic recession, what that really means is that we've spent a couple of quarters where our gross domestic product, which means the things that we produce and the income that we generate as a country, that has been at a loss. Okay, does that mean that the whole country is in a recession? No, not necessarily, because part of the reason why they're redefining what a recession is because they want a minimum, I think it's 9 states to be suffering not only a loss of GDP, but a hit in the employment market. Okay, where you have unemployment claims going up because businesses are shutting down or scaling back because there's not a high enough demand, which causes an economic recession, or less economics to be done. Okay, Well, just because the blue states, let's say, so let's say Pennsylvania or New York or even California, they are losing lots of people because people don't like the taxes, they don't like the policies, they don't like the politics and the economics, so therefore they move. Now, Pennsylvania, New York, and California are in what you could call a recession just because of the loss of economics that they are facing. But where are those people going? Where are they migrating to? They're migrating to states like Florida, like Tennessee. They're migrating to places like Colorado or Utah or North Dakota. And so now those places are seeing an economic boom, which means now businesses are expanding, businesses are hiring, and things like that. So necessarily when you look at economics, we try and say, okay, it's happening here, so it's happening everywhere, and that's not necessarily true. I agree. I've got mine packed and ready to go. Scientifically speaking, the bicycle is the best mode of transportation based on energy put in for the amount. Yes, I could see that scientifically, but it also, when I was on bike, I would ride 40 to 50 miles a day. And after about 2 days, my legs would they wouldn't take it. I wasn't, you have to also structure your eating and your diet. And, although you're not spending fuel or spending money on fuel to fill up a car or to fill up a gas tank, you still have to spend money on fuel, and that's food, and you get to eat a rich diet and making sure that your diet is proper so that you can be able to get the right the right fuel, and then that still costs money as well, and if you have to, your body has to be used to it. And the thing is I'm not really much of a biker. I'm a walker. I prefer to be on my own 2 feet versus being on 2 wheels. Okay, so for me, it took a lot more for me to acclimate to it versus hiking, which was a lot easier for me to acclimate to. Okay. But getting back to the economics of the situation, just because one area in the area that you're in is suffering a recession, you need to be able to, and this might be for those of you that are, because I know that I see on a lot of the prepping channels, there are people that say, well, I don't have a homestead, or I don't have these 2 years worth of food, and I don't have these things. Okay, great. How else could you as a prepper prepare for an economic recession or for climate migrations and things like this? We're talking about economics right now just because that's the thing that affects you the quickest and is the most noticeable, compared to let's say climate change, where things are getting hotter, the weather is getting crazier, so on and so forth. Okay. So, being able to have, a little bit of money put aside, a little bit of resources put aside, and being able to uproot yourself and your family to move to another part of the country, to another region, maybe even another part of your state. Maybe the big cities are they're not doing well, but the small cities are growing because everybody's trying to get out of the big cities. Well, that means that the small city economies are growing, and that may mean that you have other opportunities to where you can move in there and take advantage of work opportunities. This is the advantage of being nomadic, is because I'm not attached to an area, I'm not attached to a specific region. I'm attached to, I want to be on the move, I want to be in places where I have opportunity, where I can see myself, succeeding. And just because, and because we're in the modern era, things change so quick that if you're not willing to adapt and improvise to the changes that are happening, and again, that may mean migrating and moving to a different part of the country or a different region, or it may even mean moving to a different country, because it depends upon your skill set. What is your skill set? My skill set is, I don't know what my skill sets are. I mean, I have variable skill sets, but none of them are to the point where I can say, well, I've mastered this skill and this skill, other than maybe, let's say, the art of sales, because I've done sales a lot in my life. So I could carry 3 times as much gear and cover a couple 100 miles a day. Well, no, the average person, the most that people go on a bike, unless they're on a motorcycle, big difference, is about 70 miles. I mean, there are some people that can do about 100 plus, but those are the people that are really in shape, that are really tuned. The average person is going to struggle, especially if they haven't been on a bike, is going to struggle to hit that 20 to 30 mile mark. Well, you know what? I can do 20 miles on feet and still have a lot more energy at the end of the day than doing 20 miles on a bike. And my legs are rubber, and because I'm not in that type of shape for a bike. And again, it's just a different physiology. Each person's different. If you are an avid bike rider, well, then the things that I'm saying about bikes just really don't apply to you, but the average person, because I hadn't ridden a bike since I was in middle school. Okay, maybe even high school. I hadn't ridden a bike since then. Was I getting in shape? Yes. Did I have, my legs have always been in shape, and they've always carried me wherever I need to go. I mean, I've done as many as 40 miles physically in a day, but that was a different time. I was younger. I had the energy. I had the stamina. The older you get, your body is breaking down. Okay, and that's something that needs to be taken into account when it comes to bugging out, or when it comes to moving to another moving to another place. But this is something that as you guys see me moving around the country, because there's some things that are in the works where I may not even be here come winter time. I may be in another part of the country. Because I'm following the opportunities. When opportunities are presented to me, I'm taking advantage of them, because only a fool would turn down an opportunity to improve their life, or to at least be sustainable. Yes, I have YouTube, but I need other opportunities until YouTube pays me when I need to be paid, so that I can actually make a livable income. Now, being a nomadic and having the financial situation I have been in for the last year plus, it's a little bit more difficult. So I'm more tied to, well, I need financial opportunities, and that plays a big part into whether or not I'm going to succeed, and whether or not I'm going to survive. Because eventually what's going to happen is a lot of these social services, these welfare services, are going to go away. And you guys have also heard me talk about universal basic income, and the need of it, just because of the workforce not being able to upgrade their skills in education, because there's going to be a certain percentage of people that are just going to be naturally left behind. As it was explained to me, you can call it survival of the fittest of the modern era. Because in the old days it was physical and an ability to withstand diseases, whereas now it's more about education and skill set and drive. And so your ability to survive and be considered part of the fittest is more about what goes on up here than what goes on in here. You see what I'm saying? So these are things that you need to consider as part of the modern era. Do you have the ability to learn a new skill set? Do you have the ability to upgrade your knowledge and your skill sets with technology? Because technology, it's double-sided. On one way, it makes our life easier. It gives us a lot of conveniences. Things that we used to have to worry about, we no longer worry about, which is in a lot of ways domesticated us. But on the other side, it's used to control us. It's used to track us. It's used for other means that may not be that are still hostile. I mean, and at this point in time, instead of worrying about the predators in nature, we're having to worry about the predators in our own species, because in a lot of ways you have people that have those predatorial tendencies, whether it was the way that they were raised, whether it be predispositions genetically, or whether it just be who they are and who they've become. When you put somebody's back against the wall, they're going to show you who they really are, and that's really, really important as an individual to be thoughtful of. Okay, so Again, these are some things that if you were going to be a prepper, if you were planning on prepping, it's not always about a homestead, because a homestead, what happens when, things happen where, let's say, laws change, the government declares bankruptcy. So if you guys are familiar with with the Weimar Republic. Do you know how the Weimar Republic was able to turn into the Germany we know of World War II? After the collapse of their currency, they had to create a new currency. And out of that currency, they had to have collateral. And so what they did is they used their forest, their wood, because that was a renewable resource. And as long as they had those acreage, the acreage that they had of dense forest, they were able to use that in place of gold and silver. Okay, what is when the dollar goes away, what are we going to use in collateral? Are they going to take all of your property, all of your assets, say you're going to rent it, but this is the collateral on which creates the money that you use to be able to operate? Because we want to send money to foreign places as we use that as a way to develop our leverage and play politics with the country's money. Okay, these are things that. Sorry guys, I'm kind of losing a little bit of circulation sitting this way. But these are things that we as individuals need to be prepared for. And the things that you have, the physical possessions that you have, you need to really start thinking about your attachment to them. What happens if I lose them? And how is it going to affect me mentally and emotionally? Because as things degrade, let's just say we have a global economic collapse. Now, Billy Meyer, he's talked about a global economic collapse, and it's going to be something that the world will never really be able to recover from. We will get back up to a certain point, and then it will fall on its face again. And so we will never recover to the level of growth that we have been experiencing for the last 20, 50, 100 years. Okay? So, how is this going to affect you mentally and emotionally? And these are things that you need to start preparing yourself for. These things don't cost you money. What they do is they cost you time. And time is valuable because, it's the one thing that you can never get back. And because you only live a certain amount of years, it is the one thing that is in short supply, because you have to take time to learn, you have to take time to do this, you have to take time to do that, and time is the most valuable thing that you have, even if you have no currency. And so being able to invest that time into things that are worthwhile, especially in being prepared, this is something that you as an individual should really be thoughtful of. Okay, so again, re-educating yourself, getting skill sets that are technology based will not only ensure your survival, but may even ensure your comfort, because you get it in it when it's early. There is going to be an abundance of pay because there's going to be a high demand. But the thing is just remember, like when we first started out with cell phones, not very many people had a cell phone. Most people were technologically stupid. But as the boomers got older and they started getting into retirement and wanting to play with new technology, as the younger generation came up and was exposed and it was part of their environment growing up, now a cell phone, everybody's got a cell phone. The homeless have cell phones, okay? And, something that 10 years ago, the homeless didn't have cell phones. You had no way to be able to contact yourself. Now the government gives you a free cell phone, and this is just the evolution. So now cell phones, the price of them has gone down compared to the level of technology that you get. And the only way that they can increase the price is to give you such cutting edge technology that it very, very few of it is made. That's why iPhones and like the Samsung Galaxy are so expensive, is because of the high quality hardware that's in it and the technology that goes along with it. Apple says it touts security, and the Samsung just is about performance. Okay, so when it comes to these different things, this is kind of what you as an individual are going to have to really consider. So as the market gets saturated, the ability to be able to get, high wages are going to go down, and then, or the money supply is going to be so inflated that those wages really don't mean anything. But if you get yourself ahead of the game and you start positioning yourself to be there in the beginning of things that are starting to take off, and if you do your research and you pay attention to what's going on around you, like the next thing that's coming is artificial intelligence. I mean, we've got years and years and years to go before we have mastered artificial intelligence and artificial technology. So getting in at the start of something like that means that you're going to be in high demand, because there is not very many people that have the intelligence and have the skill set and the knowledge to be able to do that. And as somebody who is prepping, this is something that you can do that not only will give you benefits before the whole world blows up, it will also get you prepared to be ahead of the game as the world is blowing up. Using that as kind of like the proverbial thing. Okay. So does anybody have any questions? Anything they want to know about what's going on? Because I mean, I've done a lot of stuff on this channel, from hiking, biking, traveling, talking about topics, sharing my points of view on topics, sharing different ways to be able to be prepared without the traditional, okay, we're going to build a homestead and a farm and all this other stuff. So I'd like to know what kind of questions that you guys might have. Civil War won Russia right now. There is a civil war in Russia. I was not aware of it. Now I know that the United States is really trying to instigate it. I think that may be a lot more propaganda than anything, because you haven't really heard much about civil unrest other than what our intelligence agencies are instigating as a way to kind of destabilize the government. So if they are saying, if you got people talking about civil war in Russia, through the sources that I am able to keep up on, I haven't heard anything about it. I would be more worried about civil war here in America than I would be about civil war in another country. So I started prepping for Skynet. Yeah, I mean, and so bushcraft, one of the things, if you want to be prepared for Skynet, is getting into something that's open source, that is not one that's. So one thing that I have been educated in, and everybody thinks that Microsoft and Apple have the market share, which is apparently not true when it comes to all technology, not just desktops. Now, desktops and the end user computer, yes, Microsoft and Apple have the they have the market share. But when it comes to all these devices, like most of the devices you have, because of how small the kernel is with Linux, it is in everything from your Garmin to your car computer and stuff like that. And it is also open source. It's free. It's not something that you have to pay for. It's something that you can actually take control over, especially if you're security minded, and lock it down to the point to where you can prevent people from logging your keystrokes. You can prevent people from getting into your system, so that you can actually retain your digital privacy. I really don't know that the Wagner Group marching on Moscow. Hold on, I'm okay. So hold on, let me read this. So, please just search YouTube. You really don't know that the Wagner Group is marching on Moscow. Again, I've heard rumors of it, but again, that sounds more like Western propaganda. So one of the things that I've learned when it comes to Fox News. I wouldn't trust anything that comes from Fox News, just like I wouldn't trust anything that comes from CNN. I barely trust anything that comes from media sources. There are a couple of media sources that I really do trust. One of them is Redacted. They are a couple. Clayton Morris used to be a Fox News correspondent. He and his wife do what you call, not fringe media, but you guys probably know the word more than I do. I can't think of it right off the top of my head. But they actually give you the not necessarily unbiased, but they give you both sides. They are able to share with you, okay, this is what the Russians say, this is what the Ukrainians say, this is what the American and the West say, and then they say, okay, what after we've really delved into it, they made a video. Okay, I will have to check Redacted when I get a chance. Definitely, I will have to check Redacted because I consider them to be a trusted source when it comes to, getting my news and information. It's hard to be able to trust certain sources, but yeah, I consider them a trusted source for me, and I will. And I will look into it a little bit more, and I might even make a video on it and just give my opinion and my thoughts on it, or it might be just a side topic on a video that I create here. Now, I am kind of really busy working with the learning curve with Linux. I expect over the next week. Oh, here we go. Breaking: Russian coup as Putin treasonous mutiny. Okay, so because I get their updates, so yeah, I'm gonna have to look at that video when I get a chance, probably on the way back to the place where I sleep at night, and be able to look at that, because it might be something interesting to know, because it means that the Americans may not, and NATO may be losing, because that's the one thing that Redacted's been telling us, is that NATO is actually getting its ass kicked on the ground. But intelligence-wise, we may actually be getting headway there to destabilize the regime. But also, what does that mean? That means that if you destabilize Russia, they may take it as an act of war and part of their doctrine. Yes, she is definitely pleasant on the eyes. She's not that pretty, but she's definitely pretty. There are some prettier newscasters, but yes, I definitely agree she is pretty. Just sometimes I wish she would just keep her mouth shut, because yeah. But anyways, all right. So what's up, Just a Guest? Nice to see you. But just. Again, just to reiterate, because I've got to start wrapping this up so we can get back into getting my system up, so that I can start getting things going, and you're going to start seeing a lot more changes in the channel as far as quality of content. But again, there is a learning curve. I got to learn it before I come and talk about it, and so that's why I have a lot of my my old that's why I have a lot of my old Patreon videos coming over, because I knew that there was going to be a point where I needed it, and it just happened at the time when I brought all those over. So I'm almost a month ahead on all of my content once it comes to Patreon, and as soon as all these old Patreon videos are aired. And I hope you guys watched the one today that released. That was a great interview. One who studies. If you, whether or not you follow the Meyer material or not, he is very educated when it comes to the Meyer material, and as far as like his predictions and the things that he talks about. Not only that, but on the spiritual teachings as well. I think that he is a good interview to watch if you have not watched it this morning. Okay. But just to reiterate, you need to start really looking at other ways to prepare other than ownership, because as everything crumbles, your property, the things that you possess, the things that you own and you cherish, may be taken from you through a dispossession. And the only thing that you have left is your skill set and your ability to maneuver around, and that may mean it may not end up in a point where we're in a civil war, but economically facing the Great Depression, or something similar to what my grandparents and my great-grandparents suffered through. We may be coming to a point where we're facing that, and the need to be able to be prepared for a war was less prominent than needing to prepare for famines and for economic turmoil. And I think that is you may be preparing for all the rest of that stuff, but I think that that also getting yourself prepared to where you just got to uproot and migrate to another part of the country to be able to take advantage of opportunities, just to be able to keep your family together and healthy and alive, and these are things that you should be considering if you haven't considered it already. And that means that you might have to leave family behind. Most of my family's in Oregon, and my being from a military family, you never really, even when my old man got out of the Army, after he retired, he stayed in Texas, although our family is in Oregon, and that taught me an important lesson that, family's family. You can travel to see them, but we've got technology. You can get on a video conference and see them that way. You can talk to them on the phone. There are many ways to be able to keep in touch with family without actually being there. Same thing with friends. The school that your kid is at, they're just as good as schools where you're going. So, if you're worried about that, that's something that really is it's an excuse, and it's just something that is holding you back. So anyways, guys, I am going to go ahead and close out this because I've got to get back to work. But, if you guys want to help out the channel, whenever I do a live stream, okay, well, no, let me stop there. If you guys want to help out the channel, the best way to help out the channel is to like, subscribe, comment, share it with your friends. Let them see this content. The more people that see this, the more opportunities they have to be able to learn an alternative view to things, okay? Secondly, if you want to help out the channel financially, there is always where you can, leave me a tip in the tip jar. In the description of all of my videos, you have the different ways where you can help out outside of subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting, stuff like that. Okay, and that would, that is leaving a tip in the tip jar. Coming over to Patreon, the new releases, other than the behind the scenes, which is released every Wednesday, the Hobo tutorials are released every Monday, and every Friday is the constitutional history. And I'm going to be getting into a lot of the legal things that you as a prepper should be thoughtful of, so that you can navigate and protect yourself and use the law to your advantage for your own self-preservation. Okay, and then you also lastly there is the my affiliate links. Now, once I get my laptop up and running, I'm going to go and change a lot of the affiliate links, and I'm going to start working on, once I start making some money on this other things that I've got going, I'm going to probably be buying some gear or working with local vendors to be able to review their gear, so that one, I can make money off of it, and two, I can share it with you guys, the ins and outs, and kind of show that. Okay, guys, so thank you for watching. I will see you guys next Saturday. Now, I don't have an actual time. I try and do it in the late morning, early afternoon. But if you hit the bell notification and then click all, that means every time I release a video, every time I go live, you guys will be informed, so you can show up to the live stream and ask the questions that you want to ask. But I will see you guys next Saturday. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being my subscribers, and I look forward to our next conversation.